Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for being here today to show honor to Eileen Farkas. I ask that you please take a moment to silence or turn off your cell phones at this time. At the very beginning of the Torah, we read that God creates human beings by taking dust from the earth and breathing into that dust an nishmat chayim, a living soul. The Torah teaches us that all human beings are composed of a physical body and a living soul. And then, at the end of our days, our soul and our body separate once more. Our physical body returns to the dust that it was created from, and our soul returns to God. Today we have the opportunity to ensure that Eileen Farkas' body is returned properly to its final resting place, and at the same time we honor her neshama, her spirit, her soul, and ensure that it reaches its appropriate spiritual home. We'll read a chapter of Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar. A song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Bina teshayar b'tseini, al mei menuchat yinaleini. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. Nafshi yishovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Gam ki elech begeitz al maved lo ira ra ki ata imadi shivtecha mishantecha hima yinachamuni. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you, God, are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sarai dishantav Hashem en roshi kosi rivaya. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You've anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of my days. At this time, I'd like to call up Alan Farkas, Eileen's brother, to share some words.
I've asked my daughter, Sherry, to help me. Our psalmist wrote that our days are numbered 70, 70 years, and if strong, 80 years. My sister's years numbered 70, 90 years. To Eileen, family was very important to her. I believe God has a purpose for us in life. For Eileen, it was to forsake her personal life and care first for our parents. She lived with our father and mother, and when our father was stricken with cancer, Eileen was there to do whatever it took, day or night, to comfort him until his death in 1977. For our mother, she was her constant companion until Christmas Eve 1995. Eileen showed so much love for her and may have extended our mother's life. From December 25th, 1995, Eileen lived alone until she went into hospice at Montefiore on June 17th. There was never a day that I didn't worry about her safety. When our sister Marion Mazer got sick, Eileen was a constant companion to her, walking from Silsby to Marion's apartment at the Hamptons. It didn't matter to Eileen the weather being rain, snow, cold, or hot. She was with Marion. Before Eileen died, she told me Marion was like a twin sister to her. It was really through Eileen that I developed a love of baseball. When we lived on Iroquois by Paxton and Arlington, we took the Superior streetcar to Superior and East 65th and walked to League Park where the Cleveland Indians played baseball. After the game, Eileen and I waited outside the gates to get players' autographs and then walked to get the streetcar back home. When the Indians moved to Municipal Stadium, we took the streetcar downtown to the baseball games. She always included me in going to the games. Eileen was interested in all Cleveland sport teams, and we had many conversations together on their wins and losses. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the many friends Eileen had for many years. Please excuse me if I don't mention all the names. Mickey Roberts, a friend for perhaps close to 80 years, and was like a daughter to our family. Beverly Gill, who became a very close friend. Nadine Roscoe, a nurse who attended to our mother and became a close friend. Nadine was at Eileen's room many times during Eileen's stay at Montefiore Hospice and was with us to Eileen's last breath. Also to Nadine's sister Lori and friend Sue. Nadine, Sue, Lori, and Eileen had many get-togethers through the years, and I thank them for being good friends to my sister. After Eileen was diagnosed having leukemia, she accepted that her days of living would soon be over. She said she would have liked to see her great-nephews and nieces grow, but she said it wasn't in the cards. Eileen also told us she lived a good life and was not afraid to die. She died peacefully with family by her side. Sundays were my days to be with Eileen. We would go to eat at Joe's, then shopping at Heinen's and CVS for her prescriptions, then to her home where we unpacked and talked a while. My Sundays will never be the same. I have many, many memories of my sister Eileen, which I shall never forget. May her life be a blessing to all of us. Thank you for being here today to share in the life of my sister, Eileen Farkas. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Eileen's nieces, Casey and Jessica, to share some words.
One of my earliest memories is pressing my fingers into the holes of our yellow rotary phone, practicing my numbers as I called Aunt Eileen. Her phone number had 3 8s in it, and I remember the sound of the dial as it traveled back to its home on the wheel. When I called Aunt Eileen, it wasn't just to talk to her, but to her doll Priscilla, and to the animals that lived in her yard, Billy the bird, Sammy the squirrel. She had voices for each one. And when she wasn't in the mood, it wasn't that Sammy the squirrel couldn't talk right now. It was that he was off playing with his friends or busy eating acorns. After I moved on from imaginary characters, she'd still reference them as a fun pastime. They became things to reminisce about and to laugh about. And this was true of most things, even when they weren't originally that funny. When I was around 10, I was home alone with my wild imagination and called her, afraid that someone was in the house. I nervously sat in the basement with Aunt Eileen on the phone, distracting me from the normal house creaks that made my voice tremble. But that's the thing with Aunt Eileen. She let everyone feel how they felt in the moment, no matter how ridiculous, and just listened. When we finally got off the phone, I called her back, maybe 10 minutes later. In a voice of genuine concern, she asked, "What's wrong, Kaisela?" And I just said, "Same thing." This became one of her stories. She shared it with my mom, with my aunt, and with her friends. Same thing, I hear, became a regular part of her and her friend Mickey's conversations in the same way that she had adopted the phrase, "Likewise, I'm positive," from her friend at the VA. Aunt Eileen had this way of taking everything that happened around her and making it a story to tell and a memory to hold on to. When I heard Aunt Eileen's diagnosis, 30-some years of memories flooded in. I wrote them all down, and I came home to Ohio in the hopes to create a few more. Instead of staying with my mom and going over for visits, I stayed with Aunt Eileen, and we were able to just be. For those 4 days, there was no see you soon or call you later. We got to watch TV, drink wine, listen to Willie Nelson, and share family stories. We got to just coexist in the house on Silsby Road, where she did the same thing with her parents for decades. It's hard to say goodbye to someone who's been with you, really with you, since day one. But as sad as I feel about her death, I also feel incredibly lucky that I had the chance to create our last memories together and to share with her and to have her understand how much she meant to me, how I hope that I share the closeness with my nieces that I had with her, and that I can continue to make her proud by living my best life with grace, humility, and dignity that she had in hers.
When I was 3 years old, an only child living with my parents in Brooklyn, New York, my great Aunt Eileen Farkas in Ohio would send me dolls. They came in crinkly plastic wrappers and were about this big, with shiny hair, fabric dresses or overalls, and red plastic shoes that snapped on and off. I was thrilled when we moved to Cleveland and Aunt Eileen became one of my primary grown-ups. I was 5. I asked her to be my sister, and she agreed, and that was that. Aunt Eileen was my sister, my 58-year-old sister. I told everyone, including a little girl at the playground near Eileen's house on Silsby Road. She looked at Aunt Eileen for confirmation, and Eileen pursed her lips and nodded with the straightest face around. "But she's so big," the girl said. From my perspective, this child was expressing not skepticism, but awe. I climbed into Eileen's little red wagon, and she pulled me back to her house, where we ate my great-grandmother's sugar cookies, the ones with the nuts, and played jewelry store on her bedroom floor. That Eileen might realistically have been my sister was not as absurd to me as it should have been. I knew she was the actual sister of my grandmother, but Eileen wasn't one age or another to me. Her personness obliterated any number, and from the way we clicked, made it obvious that this so big human was no doubt a sister of mine. I think that's why, even as the decades passed, I never thought of her as old. My aunt was a gifted and hilarious storyteller. She didn't tell jokes. Her comedy came from her wit, her amazing timing, her attention to details, and her way with words. Once, when she worked at the Veterans Administration, a veteran filed a claim about a physical ailment that, let's just say, could not possibly have been caused by blowing the bugle, as he insisted. "What did you do?" we all wanted to know. With her deadpan delivery, "I approved it." She had us in stitches. Eileen was also a very serious person. She believed fiercely in family and friendship, giving her heart all the way to the people she loved, despite our imperfections and transgressions. "It doesn't matter," she'd say, about human shortcomings. "Look away." If I can emulate her in this regard, I know it will serve me well in my lifetime, and I hope it will honor hers. In a sense, Eileen's diagnosis 6 weeks ago was a tremendous gift. It meant we who love her got something very rare, the chance to say goodbye, to leave nothing unsaid, and for me, to get to process her death not only in the aftermath of grief and mourning, but together with her. We got to express to each other how strange it was that soon we wouldn't get to talk anymore, that we were sad, but mostly grateful. It allowed me to hear her say, "Honest to God, pal of the world, I don't want to go, but I understand." I got to tell her I love her, and she got to respond, "Likewise, I'm positive, little sister of mine." During one last visit, she delighted my young daughters with stickers, her trademark whimsical drawings, and her way of being with them that, no surprise, at times erased the 8.5 decades between them. Eileen and I talked about how hard it is to find language for this last part, the dying, perhaps especially in this blessed circumstance of a long life, well lived, when words like tragic don't apply, but the sadness and the missing are profound. "It's okay," she said one day, when I didn't know what to say. "Ein Herz feelt die andere." One heart just feels the other. It is strange and hard to have someone gone from the world who has known me since I was me. And it is awesome that from this person, my great Aunt Eileen Farkas, her memory is a blessing. That from her, I got to learn until the very end how to live and die with grace, courage, humor, and love.
Eileen Farkas was born to Sarah and Carl here in Cleveland. Her parents had immigrated from the Marmarish region, but their children grew up here. Eileen was the third of 4 children. Her father, Carl, worked hard to provide for the family as a waiter in a family-owned restaurant. Eileen grew up on 153rd and Kinsman, then later Superior and 123rd. She went to John Hay High School, taking a bus and a streetcar to get there. She learned administrative and secretarial skills at the school that she would put to good use for the rest of her life. Eileen would go on to work for the Veterans Affairs Administration for 37 years. She was an adjudicator, which meant that it was her job to determine if and what benefits that veterans might receive. Now, you can easily imagine someone in this position for so many years doing what many people do when they work for a large bureaucracy. They do as little as they can to help those who come before them. But that, of course, was not Eileen. If you knew her, you knew she was someone who deeply cared for others. She was a giver. She was a hard worker. Her rule was that if a veteran came before her needing help, her job was to do whatever she could to assist them. It was these principles of caring and service that guided her throughout her life. And it was these principles that were at the heart of her relationship with her beloved family. Eileen loved her family dearly. She was a wonderful big sister to her little brother, Alan. As you heard, she was the one who got him into baseball. She would take him to Indians games. She'd even wait with him outside the games after they were done to get the autographs of famous players. And I know that Alan has many, many fond memories of the time that they spent together when they were young. Eileen was incredibly close with her sister Marion. They were in many ways closer than sisters, if you can say that. The two of them would spend an incredible amount of time together. Eileen didn't drive, but she would walk nearly every day from her house on Silsby in University Heights to visit her sister at her apartment in the Hamptons on Cedar Road. It's not a short walk. They were so close that Marion's children became, in a certain sense, like her own. This was particularly the case after Marion passed away, and Eileen continued her close relationship with them. Eileen had a keen sense of humor and a playful personality that just made her so much fun to be around. Her Eileenisms, so to speak, and you've heard such beautiful examples of them today. She loved being with her family, whether it was for the Jewish holidays or just everyone gathering together at her house on Memorial Day to watch the parade. Eileen was the family historian. She would tell childhood memories, sharing with everyone what life had been like in the old country and growing up here in Cleveland. It was her love for her family that led Eileen to be an exemplar for one of the hardest mitzvot that there is, Kibud Av V'Em, honoring one's parents. Now you have to understand, Kibud Av V'Em doesn't just mean treating your parents nicely or giving them respect. At its core, the rabbis teach us that Kibud Av V'Em means taking care of your parents when they are no longer able to take care of themselves. It means returning the love to them that they gave you when you were young. Eileen never moved out of her parents' home. She stayed with them to look after them, to care for them. She was their caregiver when they became sick later in life. She was the one who looked after them. She was their closest friend. I know this is something that her brother Alan and all of her nieces and nephews are so incredibly grateful to her for. Eileen retained a strong connection to Judaism throughout her life. She and her family were members of Ohev Tzedek going back to the 1940s. She was confirmed there. And even after moving to University Heights, her family would still make the effort to walk to Taylor Road Synagogue for the high holidays. At Passover Seders, it was Eileen's job to open the door for Eliyahu. Later in their lives, Eileen was also able to do the tremendous mitzvah of bringing her parents to Israel for the very first time. When I visited with Eileen just a few days before she passed away, one of the things that was made abundantly clear to me was that her love and care for others was matched only by a great inner strength of character that she possessed. And you heard it on display in the descriptions here, just that love, that depth, that personality that she had. Eileen had known adversity in her life. She was a breast cancer survivor. She had taken care of her parents for decades and lived alone for many years after they passed away. But you see, she had this incredible personality, a strong personality. But unlike a lot of people with strong personalities who occasionally use it as a wedge to push others away, she utilized her personality to make people feel comfortable, to bring people in, to recognize that age is never a barrier between the ones that we love. This was the incredible gift that she shared with her loved ones over and over again. It was that same strength of character and personality that emerged in the courage that she demonstrated even in recent days. She wanted her family to know that she had accepted what was to come and that she had lived a good life. And when she said these things to them, and I was there for this, you could just see the truth and authenticity behind it. In searching for a rabbinic statement that captured Eileen, I kept coming back to a question in Pirkei Avot. It's asked by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, one of the great rabbis who lived during the end of the Second Temple period. He asks 5 of his students, what is the proper way to which a person should strive to live their life? And each one of his students came back with a different answer. One said, more than anything, a person should have an ayin tova, a good eye. They should look out at the world and see the positive, not letting themselves become trapped in difficulty or frustration. Another student said a person should be a chaver tov, a good friend. They should value the relationships of the people that matter to them most and treat them with love and respect. The third student said a person should be a shachen tov, a good neighbor, that they should be kind and gracious even to those who may not be your friends or family, but nevertheless live side by side with you. Another student said that one should ro'eh et hanolad, that one should be wise and consider the outcome of their actions. They should live life with a sense of what truly matters and recognize the great impact that what we do can have on others. Then we get to the final student, the fifth student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And he said that a person should have a lev tov, a good heart. And it was this answer that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai immediately praised. He said, I prefer this answer, the answer of a lev tov, a good heart, because included within it are all the other answers you have suggested. Having a good heart means being positive in one's outlook, valuing friendship, being respectful even to those who you may not be close, and being wise in one's actions. More than anything, Eileen had a lev tov, a good heart. It was a loving heart, and it was a big heart. As the family says goodbye to her today, I know that they want to thank her for being who she was, somebody who broke the mold, an individual in the truest sense of the word. She was an incredible role model for them to learn from her actions, from her character. She always saw the good. She cared deeply for the ones she loved, and she always made a point of acting on that love. She will be greatly, greatly missed. Tei nishmata tzura b'tzura chayim. May Eileen's soul forever be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. Yehei zichra baruch. And may her memory be a blessing. This time, I ask that people rise as I recite the memorial prayer, Kemalei Rachamim. Kemalei Rachamim, Shochem Bamramim. Amitzei Menucha Nachana, Kamfei HaShechina. B'malot Kedushim Atarim, Kazara Kia Mazirim. Et Nishmat, Yehudit Bat Kolonimus Kalmin Visara. Shalcha L'olama. Bavor Shenachtam Mitpalim Baraskarat Nishmata. Baganen Menucha Tzalachem Barachamim. Yasir Abisah Kenafav L'olamim. Vitzor B'Zochaim Nishmata. Adonai Nachalata. Vitzinuach B'Shal Mishkava. Vinomar. Amen. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the sheltering wings of your presence in the loftiest levels of the holy and pure, which shine with the brightness of the firmament. To the soul of Eileen Farkas, who has gone to her world and for whose memory we pray, may her repose be in paradise. May the Master of compassion bring her under the cover of God's wings and bind her soul in the bonds of life. May the Lord be her heritage. May her resting place forever be in peace. And let us say Amen. Following the funeral service, the kavura, the burial, will be at Mount Olive Cemetery. The family will be sitting Shiva at the home of Alan and Sheila Farkas, 24531 Maidstone. Shiva will be tonight until 5 p.m. And then again later tonight from 7 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. And Shiva will be also again tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. There will be prayer services at the home tonight at 8:45 p.m. Mincha and Marv, and then tomorrow morning, Shacharit at 7 a.m. Anybody who would like to can make contributions in Eileen's memory to Ohev Tzedek Cedar Sinai Synagogue or to the Montefiore Hospice Unit. At this time, I ask that people remain standing to show one final act of kavod, of respect, that Eileen so truly deserves, and that the pallbearers should come forward at this time.